It's just different.
Hopeless at one point, and then have an opportunity to make you go harder, make you get in that booth and just really express that hopelessness. Like, man, y'all don't understand. This is like, you know what I mean? You dig from a different place. That bottom of your soul, that pit, homie, where you felt like the shit was, you know what I'm saying? You always wanted, but it looked like it was just not gonna happen.
Shit, in your mind it ain't gonna happen, shit, it probably won't. I took some risks, some people probably won't. That's how we're grateful for the fruits of all my labor. Hard to live and know you sick, I'd rather be with my creator, think the time's up.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Four Insight Podcast. This is your host, Mike Obi.
And it's your boy, London Ogletree, back for another one, man. How you doing?
Not bad, man. How you doing on your end, bro?
Doing good, man. You know, just here for another one, back for a special episode.
Yes, indeed. So this is the first trifecta interview we have going on. But, you know, I'm really excited for this interview this week because this kind of embodies the whole message of what I try to talk about, what we try to build here with Four Insight, man, the whole partnership and working together, working with one another. But this guest that we're bringing on, I got connected with out in Dallas, met him at the Roommates live show and to bring us all together. But welcoming Jordan Patterson. How's it going, man?
All right, nice to meet y'all.
All righty. So where I like to always start off every interview is just give people a bit of background and understand who it is that they're listening to. So just for the people, give a little bit of background in your life story and describe who you are.
I'm Jordan Patterson. I'm 22. I grew up in Dallas. I was born and raised, and graduated 2018. Right now, I'm still at UTA, and I manage 2 different businesses, working full-time student. So just on the come up right now.
I hear that.
For sure.
It's busy.
Young and
joke, but yeah,
Young
building
and
all together.
You got a lot in common, man. I kind of like that. You got a whole path in. What year are you in UTA?
I'm on my junior year.
The junior year? All right.
Yeah, there was a little setback, COVID, unnecessary classes, all that, but I should be finished up in spring next year.
Yeah, I kind of remember them days just being at Texas Tech University and trying to finish and thinking of a business plan for me and kind of getting my stuff. So I didn't know kind of where I wanted to go outside of college, and just I was like, do I want to be in corporate America? Do I want to start my own business? So you definitely taking that same path that I kind of took. So it's dope to hear.
Yeah, and it kind of came later for me. I mean, you know, that's the thing. We all have similar mindsets as far as, you know, I got through with my undergrad at U of H, and, you know, I finished and I was like, I want something more. Like, I don't want to just be working at a desk forever. So It was about trying to build something that had a greater purpose. So I was like, well, the only way to really do that was to build a business or build something where you can impact people on a larger scale. So that's great that we all 3 have the same drive and ambition. Now, Jordan, for your end, another Texas boy, grew up in Dallas. And so just talk about what it was like growing up in Texas, man, for you.
I mean, honestly, it's been real peaceful. Like, I mean, I didn't have the most privileged upbringing. You know, my family was real like lower middle class, and then we kind of rose from that. We were in apartments for 7 years, started when I was 4. Then moved into 2 houses, you know, just coming up as a family. I have 2 siblings. My little sister, Johanna, she just turned 18. My older brother, he just turned 26. So Texas upbringing, it was nice. Like, this is my state. No, I don't think I've really moved anywhere else. I got family in LA. I have family really all across the country. But if I were to like raise a family here, it would definitely be in Dallas.
In Dallas. What part of Dallas are you from?
I was raised in the Duncanville area.
Duncanville, okay, yeah.
But then we moved to Grand Prairie, then to Mansfield. So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, you kind of, like I said, you kind of seem like you got a lot of stories like me. I came from Detroit, and then all of a sudden my parents moved me out of Detroit in 7th grade and dropped me off in Katy, Texas. I'm like, to me, it was night and day. So I'm like, It took me from this environment and put me into Katy. I'm like, it was hard to adjust. So it's definitely Texas is where it's at. So I agree with you on that one.
Now, but let's stick on that then. So talk about what it was like, maybe that transitioning from Duncanville area to the Grand Prairie area. Was it a big, difference as far as culture, as far as environment, as far as people, or was it for the most part one and the same?
I'll tell you what, I one of my first memories, like you know how you have memories when you're little, and it's like your earliest memories. One of
Right.
my earliest memories was moving into the apartment complex in Duncanville. So that transition from Duncanville to Grand Prairie was kind of rough on me because like that's the only place I'd ever known as home.
Yeah.
So I knew we were moving into like a nicer environment, especially neighborhood wise, but it was emotional for me because I'm like, this is like another part of my life starting. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Grand Prairie, it was definitely nicer than where we've been living. I mean, there wasn't any type of crime or anything. It was just, the environment, you know. Um, but yeah, it was I'd say it was an emotional transitioning. But when we moved to the Grand Prairie home, I made like a whole lot of friends in that area. New school district, great opportunities at this whole like just a neighborhood clique, about 10 of us just running around this one neighborhood. It was nice. It's like good
Yeah.
memories. Back to it now. Um, but yeah, it was a blessing. It was like a bittersweet time.
You kind of got to look at it as like a blessing because like you leaving your other group of friends from over there in Duncanville, then you going to Grand Prairie. It was like, I don't know, none of these people over here. But then kind of, I don't know if you saw it differently than when I saw it. It was like when I got older, I kind of saw it as more of a blessing for me to go to Katy. So I'm like, I don't know where I would have been at if I didn't move to Katy. So I definitely resonate with what you're saying a lot with that whole blessing in disguise.
Yeah, because even for me too, like I moved once and I didn't move far. I moved about 30 minutes, but it was like I remember looking around and I was like, this is different. Like, because where I grew up, it was a small city that was on the come up and emerging. So you got to watch the transition and the urbanization. Then where we get to in the Sugarland area, everything's established. People usually move to the suburbs because they want something more, right? They want a more lavish house, they want a more lavish lifestyle, they want a more lavish community of people because now you have people who maybe are, instead of being the workers like in the in the union, now they're the owners, now they're the CEOs, now they have the higher ranks. And so then you're able to see that sort of transition in their children, that mentality, because their children take on that mentality, right? In a small town, people might be content with just I'm just going to work and raise my family and live a simple life. With one thing I noticed was people wanted more as far as like, I'm trying to own more stuff, I'm trying to own property, I'm trying to get into real estate, I'm trying to get, so it was just one of those things that for me it was a blessing in terms of seeing that there could be more and things could be different, you could think differently. I think was the blessing I took from moving, was just getting to see a different culture. All right. Now, we already talked about your upbringing. We talk about, Texas and transitioning, but along the way, Jordan, you develop an entrepreneurial mind. So talk about how that came about.
And I really started like elementary. Um, I was selling snacks. I was a snack kid.
Ah,
I
ah,
was buying my stuff wholesale, in bulk.
Ooh.
I was the one passing out chips for 50 cents. So that's where it started off at. And then I remember, I think third grade, we had like a project. We kind of like had to raise money. It was like a fundraising project.
Right.
And I started off by selling brownies. So I was selling like these pans of brownies for however much, maybe like 10, 15 or something. And that's where I really started off. That's where I gained my interest. I was like, maybe this is something I could do like for real, when
Yeah.
I'm old. At the time, I was thinking brownies, selling brownies when I'm older. I was a kid.
Yeah.
But of course, that can span into a bunch of different things, different things that aren't negative. You can be about your business without, doing things that, ain't the right way.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I didn't go down that road because, of course, I had influences in my life that could have made me go down that road.
Right.
But, I just stick to how I was raised. My parents, they kind of forced that. I wouldn't say forced, but they influenced that entrepreneurial like
Yeah.
mindset to me because my mom was that way as well.
mm,
So I eventually got to the point where I knew what I wanted to do, which was, my clothing. It took me a couple of years to actually like put it into the process. But I still kept that mindset nonetheless.
Let me ask you a question from like that entrepreneurial mindset, because I feel like every kid had that type of dream to kind of, I knew I sold Skittles and I went to wholesale with Costco's and Sam's Club as well and was selling in middle school. But like, did you have any people like your peers kind of knocking you down to kind of make you like steer away from it? And you was like, no, I don't think this is something for me. What made you kind of stay in that path of keep going?
It was mainly church. I mean, just the way I was raised, I was never really about that life.
Right.
No, and also church was like my second home. I still go to the church I really like grew up in.
Okay.
And just positive influences. I had some negative influence for sure, but just my mind alone was able to keep me on track.
Right.
I was able to like just willpower and just knowing that I'm doing the right thing, just not letting peer pressure get to me. That's where I just kept myself on the right road.
Yeah, it's definitely a positive, staying out that lane of influences, because like we all coming from minorities, we're gonna see some type of bad influence, but it's like, can you keep your mind right? And like, I like how you said that staying with your parents and they taught you the right ways. Like when you leave the house, remember those things that they taught you, and like don't try to steer away from different things, because I think that's when people fall over, like peer pressure. And like for me, I never believed in peer pressure. I was like, my parents told me this, I'm gonna kind of do a little things off the rail, but like at the end of the day, I'm not gonna just disrespect my parents, because like we be disciplined. So it's like, I'm not trying to get my ass whooped or nothing. So let me stay on the tracks and maybe do something right. So I messed with that a lot. So
Same time, like I would hear about how much they making, and you get the temptation. You're like, man,
it's
over
like,
here making $5 a day selling snacks,
yeah.
but risk ain't worth it.
I was doing pretty good because I got like some Sour Patch straws, and I met this one dude at school, and he was like, man, when I get my allowance, I give you like $60 for like 5. I'm like, you about to get hustled, but when you come back, I'm gonna give it to you. So I was like, I got chocolate, I got the white chocolate Hershey's, the Snickers, the $1.50 for the Snickers, and then $1 for the Skittles. So I was doing the same thing, and then I actually got in trouble in middle school for my end of it, and they was like, well, if we catch you, we're gonna expel you. And I called my mom. I was like, tell them it's for AAU basketball if they call you. And I kind of got away with it. So that's kind of dope. We kind of have similar so far like stories. So it's cool.
They kind of told me the same thing in school. I'm like, y'all mad at my money, man.
Y'all mad at me for making some money. I should be happy. It should be in class.
I should be teaching me this.
No, yeah, I definitely understand that one.
London, that was a great question you just brought up. I want to kind of elaborate on what you guys are talking about. So I had a homeboy who sold candy, and that was a thing when I got to high school too. Like I said, entrepreneurial people who had, bigger thought processes. In my school, they do the same thing. They shut a lot of that candy stuff down. Why do y'all think schools didn't want to see kids selling candy or making money for themselves, making side money? Why do you think that was a big deal?
Yeah, I'll let you talk on it, Jordan.
So for the candy thing, I can see why that can be, I guess, a safety concern. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to selling just a side hustle in school, this might be a reach, but I feel like school systems are more designed when it comes to hiring like employees in the future. Because I guess as a school, you have stuff like a strict lunchtime, class time, everything's in a routine.
Right.
And once you get into that routine, once you've been doing that routine all of your life, you'll eventually want something that's a routine that pays you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I feel like it's kind of like a way of engineering children to be in the workforce later on in life and not kind of have like a mind where they can think for themselves and do what they want as a business. Now, I'm not saying that's like the only answer to it, but it may be something that's in the mix. It might be something that has to be.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. I didn't even think of it like that. Like they kind of like structuring us to kind of just think one way, kind of like even in college, like you got to go to college and get this degree to be in 9 to 5 corporate America. And it's kind of like the jail structure too. Like if you think, I see so many people talk about things on interviews about like jail is kind of structured, kind of like how high school is. Like it's a set regimen, so they can kind of have you and program your mind, so you can't kind of think of anything differently other than just that type of mindset. Whereas like people like us, we think outside of the box, and it's like, why would I not sell this? Like this is a different revenue for me to have some extra money in my pocket, where we should think like, dang, that's pretty good. We should teach these other kids kind of the same way to kind of get their minds in a different way, in a different mindset. So they just have different ways of thinking instead of just thinking just one path. Well, let me get this degree in engineering or business or something. But technically that could fall into business. That can, like you said, that led you to think into opening your own clothing line. So I think these teachers and stuff needs to start opening up their minds, because it's not just their curriculum that's works. So it's multiple ways of learning. So
Yeah, y'all both hit the nail on the head of what I wanted to bring up. I was a person who used to, when I got through high school, when I got through college, I was like, the American school system, people would ask me kind of, what did you learn? What did you take away from it? I'm like, it had nothing to do with the classroom. It had everything to do with building yourself up as an individual and like how to take accountability. But I hear so much of, even it was our class, but even people younger than us who would say, I don't feel like I benefit from school. What is school teaching me? Like, that's the main thing. And so much of the older generation will tell us, well, y'all are just being lazy. Y'all are Gen Zs or millennials. Y'all don't want to work for nothing. I'm like, nah, that's being dismissive. Why don't you answer the question of what they're asking? What are y'all teaching us? Because you're not teaching us really how to think for ourselves. Many people would argue. You're not teaching me how to be financially literate, something that people struggle with even now as full-fledged adults. Not teaching us how to think outside the box, like London brought up, like, so I'm just like, I used to look at that and I'd be like, why is it such a big deal, right? Like, at least explain to them, like, okay, this is a risk. This is why it could be a risk. It could be the same thing with a person opening a business. Like, it's not just a matter of getting, product and selling it. You have to understand the ramifications. You have to understand the legal side of it all. You have to understand the rules, who you can and can't sell to, right? That'd be more beneficial than just simply saying, no, you can't, don't do it. That's bad. You're bad. Or someone who thinks outside the box, like, no, that's dumb. You have to think this way. No, just explain to them, the risks. You mean?
I think it comes from the older generation kind of having a one-sided mindset. And it's not no knock to them, but it's like they came from a generation where there was no social media. There was no different ways of getting money besides maybe getting a trade, going to school, get a degree, and then working in corporate America. But like, if you tell our parents now, I can monetize this podcast or get some money from that, or get some money from a clothing line off of social media, they'll be like, what are you talking about? Go. So it's like, it takes, and this is what I had to learn from them as a male and being a grown-up, being right out of college, and my parents like, we're not paying for nothing. Mm-hmm. So I took it like, okay, well, if y'all not gonna pay for nothing else, I'm paying my own bills. I'm gonna listen to y'all, but at the end of the day, I gotta live for me. Mm-hmm. So it's like, there's some things that my parents told me, and they was completely wrong. And I was like, see, I took this job knowing that my resume wasn't as up to par as it should have been in college with internships. So I took that to build my resume, and you guys knocked it, but now it put me in a better situation to where I'm at now. So I'm like, you guys didn't have all the answers either. So it's like, if y'all did, we would have been rich growing up. So you got to just prove your parents wrong. It's hard because like you're going to get arguments and it's going to be like this, but sometimes you got to believe in yourself to take that risk and fall off the nest. And then if it works, it's like, now who's wrong and who's right. So I think it comes from them just having a one-sided mindset, and it's not their fault. But as people in our generation, we got to just learn to teach them that there's multiple ways of getting money now. So I like everything that all three of us are doing and the dreams that we got. So we got to just keep going and kind of install that into other individuals' minds. So
what's that? All right. So Jordan, now we've gotten through this. First of all, I wanted to bring that up just because it's not just about, questioning methods, but it's also like being able to explain where people are coming from. I think many people lack that ability really to kind of say, okay, well, this is this claim, there's this problem, there's this issue. Why is it an issue? Why are people thinking the way that they do? You guys both were two people who sold the candy. I was a person who witnessed, okay, yeah, there are these people who sold the candy, but there were also these ramifications that came. So why do we think that way? And what is the clash of the two cultures, right? Because I think through there you can kind of understand each other, and through that understanding, more solutions can be had. That's what I'm all about with this. All right, now Jordan, we get to Unrivaled Clothing Brand for yourself. So talk about how you get to starting your own clothing company and the name and just that whole inspiration.
Now, starting a clothing company ain't easy, and it's also kind of hard to maintain, especially when you like a one-man team.
Right.
It didn't start off with that name. I had kind of like multiple name changes, and at the time when I first had the idea of a clothing brand, I didn't even know what I wanted it to start off as. Like I didn't know the brand message behind it. I just knew I wanted to sell clothing. When it comes to unrivaled is supposed to mean like kind of like you like no competition, or you can't be compared to something else. So there's nothing to rival you.
Right.
And that name is supposed to reflect yourself, like you're unrivaled to yourself. The motto of the brand is better than yesterday, every day. So every day you're unrivaled because the person you were yesterday isn't, better than the person you are today. That's really where the name comes from. And that's just the whole brand message, being better physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, every day of your life, just constantly improving and becoming a better person, but not losing yourself in the process.
That's dope. That's dope. Is it like a fitness like clothing, or what type of style is it?
The style is real like a casual streetwear right now. I plan to branch it off into fitness, especially when it comes, just gym clothing. But right now it's like t-shirts, jogger sets, hoodies, trucker hats. Like this, for example, I actually got it with me. This is one of the hats.
That's dope. Yeah.
So yeah. So it's casual. It's casual wear.
Yeah.
But I plan to expand the messages that are displayed on.
Right. I kind of like the messaging to it, like how you trying to say how you should be different each and every day and kind of getting better. It's kind of like into the concept of you saying it's simple streetwear. Like we kind of went back to the graphic tees and just being simple and just having like I see your shirt right there. It's like, it's a nice t-shirt where you can have that at the gym. You can wear that with some joggers. You can even throw that on with some jeans. I see you got a nice chain. It's like you can do that in multiple different ways. I can see that going in so many different ways. And most importantly, you got that message. So I definitely see that you can go somewhere with this business right here.
At this point with the brand, I'm trying to like push brand awareness.
Right.
Because I've had like a lot of different graphics, but right now I want the brand name to be kind of just like an icon. Like when somebody sees it, they'll know what it's about.
Right.
So the clothing I'm pushing out is going to have the name out more. It's not going to be too flashy, not with a bunch of different graphics and stuff going on. It's going to be real. It'll look like real put together. Like if it was a jogger set, like a sweatshirt and some joggers, it'd be like unrivaled. You'll look real neat, put together, but you'll also still have that athleisure type stuff.
Right. And something I kind of want to ask you is because I have my own business too with Taste of Home is my meal prepping company. Do you see yourself diving 100% in right now, or do you see yourself kind of, I know you go to UTA and like, do you want to do corporate America 9 to 5 and do that? Because I had a hard time, like, do I stay in corporate America and do this, or do I just do 100% at my craft? Because you do got people in your ears, like, what do I do? So kind of how do you go to your day-to-day thinking like that? Like, do I want to go to corporate America and do that, or just dive deep into my business?
Right now, I see myself, I guess, using my income from my job and my side hustle to fund my clothing business, because that's my passion. Right. I feel like people should have a job, like a full-time job, part-time job. They should have a side hustle, and then they should have a passion, like a passion project.
Right,
So it's like three different things that they're focusing on, but the first two will fuel your passion. And I feel like one day, once I have enough put into this and it can like fly on its own, I'm gonna leave the other two behind. Or at least when it comes to my side hustle, have people do that for me.
Yeah, yeah.
My side hustle is car detailing. So I do that on the side. I've actually reached out to three of my friends in different kind of like cities nearby, if they can kind of like help me out part-time. Like I send them a client, they learn how to clean, they do it, they do it for me. I let them keep the profit, the tip. I just get a percentage of it.
Percentage of it, yeah.
I'm like recruiting people already because I want to put more focus into my clothing brand.
Right. I think it's dope that you got this mindset. How old are you again?
I'm 22.
22, yeah. The fact that you got this mindset at 22 is dope. Is dope as hell, because like as African Americans and just minorities, we have to have this type of knowledge to kind of give to other people, because it took me a long time to kind of see like there's so many different ways that people are making money, and just don't stay in this box. And like the fact that you're saying you going out there to get some of your homies and you're getting a percentage, letting them keep profit, like you making them eat, and then you're still building your empire. So it's like you helping other people and you're still doing multiple things. So it's like we gotta keep doing what you're doing. Like this is applaud for me. So I definitely love seeing when I hear stories about this, especially from people that's African American and just Black. I'm like, we gotta keep going and keep doing it, because we need more of this. And maybe other people hearing this story, that when we put it out, is like they're gonna get motivated and see like, okay, let me start my own clothing lines. I know when me and Obi started this already, I've had 4 to 5 people say, oh, I was thinking about starting a podcast. You guys just made me kind of get off the couch, and we're just starting. So it's like we gotta just all keep going. So that's dope.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel that, like I've felt the effect I have on people. I definitely stay humble about it, because even though like I know what I'm doing it's not really normal, like a lot of people, they don't have the time or the resources. At the same time, it's not easy,
It's not.
And I can see myself, I see a whole lot of potential in myself. Like I know where I want to be at. I'm hard on myself about that. So I'm like, yeah, like what I'm doing right now, it's impressive, especially for somebody my age. But at the same time, like I know I can do way better. Like I know I can be way more responsible, way more just not procrastinating, just kind of like be in my bag a bit more. But
Absolutely.
I have felt the respect and like the motivation I'm giving my peers.
Yeah. No, most definitely. I think take home is kind of what we're talking about. Is first off, working together is important, and letting people kind of tell their stories, right? On one end, it's like people really don't feel like they can do it because they don't see anybody else doing it. They don't hear about anybody else doing it, especially as African Americans, as minorities, who maybe you never saw anybody doing it growing up, or you never saw anybody have their own business, never saw what that looked like, what the work was like, or heard about it. So, it's important for me with this is to try to bring people on who've done that or who are actively doing it, and kind of let people kind of hear it be explained to them, right? And then on top of that is working together, right? Like how you have now some of your homeboys, Jordan, sort of working with you. I think that's the thing, is that we have to understand that we can't do this alone. You shouldn't go at it alone. You're only making it harder upon yourself. When you work with other people, first off, you get a different perspective. That's the one thing I really appreciated with London. London is very good at kind of taking how I present things to him and kind of like, well, did you think about this? What do you think about this? Right? It helps people. Iron sharpens iron, right? At the end of the day. So I think as long as you have a network of people who are trying to better themselves, who have drive, and who are trying to be better, that's really the truest path to growth, in my opinion. All right. So you talked about it a little bit, Jordan. Just talk about some of the pros and cons you've noticed in having this business so far. What are some of the things that are good, and what are some of the things that, a little bit more challenging, or, that have caused some stress?
Pros for having a business is definitely just having a business. I mean, people don't have their own business, they'll work for somebody their whole lives. So having a business is a permanent self. Um, seeing friends, especially people you don't expect to support your business. I've seen people that I've barely talked to in the last like couple years, and they'll support my business more than some of my close friends do sometimes. You know what I mean? So I mean, not to say that my close friends aren't doing that, like they definitely are, but it's just where you're seeing the support, like you're seeing the love. Even if sometimes you don't feel it, sometimes you feel discouraged, you're still like seeing it out there for you. So it's like you see what more you can do. You know?
Right.
I think a few cons would be it would be progress in a way where you'll see maybe another business brand. It'll seem like they're making like way more progress than you in a short amount of time. And it'll be hard not to compare yourself. So one thing when it comes to having a business, especially clothing, because the market is so versatile, there's so many clothing brands out there, especially ones that are, you know, doing better than you. If you're first starting out, you can't be comparing yourself to other people. You just have to stay in your lane like it's track. And I think another con when it comes to my business, it'll probably be like I said, it's a long range of a market. Like there's a lot that you have to get through just to be something that's big locally. And there are big clothing brands that are all across the country, you know, across the world, but breaking through locally, that's a tough job itself. That's what I'm trying to do right now. So I think there'll be a few pros and a few cons, but overall, I think the pros outweigh the cons. I can't think of all of those right now.
Right.
I know for sure, like I just feel it. I feel like I'm on the right path.
I think for the cons, you hit something on there. Like everybody, when you're starting a business or you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to get muscular, everybody compares themselves to somebody else, not knowing what's going on in the background of their stuff. Like we might be like, they're advertising this, but they could be not doing as well as they're saying on social media. So it's like, I think it's big to kind of stay in your own lane and just keep thriving and keep going, because if we keep comparing ourselves to others, and then it's like it's going to just keep not motivating us to kind of do more, and it's like kind of make us just lack, what's the word I'm trying to use, kind of lack just the momentum to keep going forward. So it's like I think that's the biggest nail that you said, like keep going and keep staying in your lane and stop worrying about what other people are doing, because that will kill anything. Like I did that several times with my meal prep business. I'm like, this person's doing this person has this type of menu, I'm not posting that much on here, I'm not doing this, and it just shocked everything. So I definitely like that you said that, because I've struggled with that every day still. So
Facts, especially when it comes to content. Like making content for my Instagram, keeping my website together, updating it, that can be tough, because it's like I try to post 2 to 3 times a week, but I'm like, what do I make next? Like I have to be I want to make something different. But I've learned that a lot of times you can make the same type of content in a different way, especially if you're copying content that popular, kind of like trying to replicate that pop and find something that works out. But I guess that would be a pro and a con, because I mean you're figuring out how to run your business, but at the same time you're trying to like make content, and some stuff doesn't do better than others.
Right.
One more point on the just comparing yourself to others. I try to remind myself that every day. So I can be like, okay, yeah, they could say they could be making this many sales, but I don't know what's going on in their personal life. I don't know, what's going on behind the scenes. So personally, I feel blessed in my personal life right now. Like, life is good. Just when it comes to relationships or family, my family's healthy, I'm healthy. So I feel blessed there. So, it's just, you never know. It's just something you have to remind yourself of, especially in a business setting. And you kind of have to let it increase your confidence, your self-esteem, harden you a little bit. Because the bigger you get, the bigger the problems. And content and comparing yourself to others are going to be the least of the problems at that point.
Every time.
Yeah, most definitely. I think we just all gotta have see the glass kind of half full and always understand that as long as we're able to wake up healthy and we have an opportunity, then that's all we got to care about. We just lock in on our path and our journey because the more you get caught up in trying to compare yourself to others, you can easily get discouraged. I think that's where most people kind of mess up at is like, well, I'm not there. I don't have that following yet. I don't have this revenue yet. So maybe I should give it up. You know what I mean? Instead of being like, okay, that person's doing it, I could do it too. Let me just keep on locking in. As long as I'm progressing every single day with the business, as long as I keep on feeding it, as long as I'm seeing improvement every single day, that's what you got to be focused on. Just like your whole message is just be better the next day, every day. You know what I mean? So I think if people keep on locking on that, really the growth will kind of come naturally. You'll look up and it's like, dang, I didn't even know I could get this far. I say this with fitness, right? People always will ask like me or some of the homies in the gym, even London, like, how do y'all get to this bench press or how do y'all lose this weight? I'm like, first off, don't even worry about the angle. Have the angle set and then achieve it by a series of progressive smaller goals. So for me, like, right, if I were to be like, I'm trying to lose 30 pounds, 1 pound at a time, 1 week at a time, just boom, boom, boom. And then naturally look up, it's like, oh, dang, it happened way quicker. Instead of being so gung ho on, okay, I'm trying to get down to 240 from 270, 30 pounds, just saying it seems a lot more intimidating than just, okay, 5 pounds every couple of weeks, boom, boom, and you just chip away at it. You know what I'm saying? I think that's where most people's mindsets have to be, is you keep on progressing, you keep on, and then as you get better, as you start to master your craft, you can start to go for your goals more aggressively. I think that mentality, I think, would suit people a lot better.
It reminded me of something I learned. It was a book I listened to. It was an audiobook a while ago. It's called The Compound Effect.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically little things that you do. And he was talking about building habits, etc. But it can apply to really anything. Just little things that you do daily or like every hour or so, something, it builds up real fast.
Mm.
So I guess when you're talking about the gym, there's a technique called progressive overload,
Right.
where you're progressively building up your weight, weekly, monthly. By the time you know it, you'll be doing double, you'll be pushing double what you were pushing months ago.
Yeah.
So, I also apply that to my brand, and I also try to apply it to the problems of content, where it's like, okay, I know content is making it hard. I got to get creative with it.
Right.
But if I keep doing it the way I'm doing it, consistency always has results.
Facts.
As long as you stay consistent, put that compound effect into motion,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna see more than what you expected.
Right.
Most definitely. All right. So we kind of alluded to this earlier, but just to, be able to bring it all full circle. So the company, where it's at today, and your vision for it going forward, just if you had to summarize that based off of your mentality right now, what would you say it would be?
I really started building last year, and it took me a couple months, probably like 6 months to have everything put together to where I can launch my brand. And I think it's only a couple months old. It began December 9th. It was like the day before my birthday, and that's when I launched it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about 4 months old now. Yeah, like 4 or 5 months old now.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's still in its baby stage. It's still in its cradle. It's an infant. I like to see it as a little sapling, like a tree. Like the more you water it, the more you put into it, like the more it'll grow. Sometimes it might catch you off guard and grow more than you expected it to. But right now, I'm in the process of developing my brand message, putting it out, especially locally. I want to do pop-up shops, show up to events on campus, kind of like make it real local, just Dallas. Make it real Dallas first. I want to focus on home first, especially since I've lived here my whole life. And then, I've made sales across the country already, California, Maryland, Florida. But when it comes to having product on hand and like just being out there, I definitely want to start here in Dallas. That's what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, and I like how you said the pop-up shops. I went to, I don't know if y'all know who Jay Milan is, but she's like a model out here in Houston. She had like a model type of runway type of thing. And then I got invited to kind of just do a pop-up with my meal prepping. So I kind of made like my best dishes. And I was like out of my comfort zone. I was like, man, I don't really like sitting here. I don't want to really talk to nobody. Slim Thug over there. So he came over to taste some of my stuff and it's like, I'm not no person to just be kissing up on just like celebrities because I want to whatever. But it's like at the same time, you have to network and kind of get out your comfort zone. So kind of pitched that to him. And then he's like, man, this is dope. And he was like, man, he's like, take my card. She said, take my card. And then I got so many customers who kind of reached out to me. It was like, what are you kind of doing? And kind of how are you angling and kind of how I had to talk to them and see what their goals was to kind of get to their goals. So I'm like, that was out of my comfort zone. So I think we said with the pop-up shops, it was, I don't know if that's kind of unfamiliar for you to kind of go places and just talk to people. But at first for me, it was like, that's not even what I want to do, is just kind of be out there. But to get your business, word of mouth is the best thing to kind of get your business out there. Like you can promote all you want, but if you go to face-to-face contact and kind of be out there with different individuals and kind of learn them, they can see you. It's like, okay, this guy hustling. So it's like, we want to see him and want to see him thrive. And that's what they want to see. So that's what I seen. That was like what you said that just stuck out to me was them pop-up shops.
I'm definitely familiar with word of mouth because with my side hustle, my car detailing,
Right.
really started that just because I was cleaning my car one day and I was like, dang, I'm actually pretty good at this. I watched YouTube videos, got some equipment, and I did my first car, then I did my second. And then I realized, like, after I did my second, that's when she was like, okay, my sister wants her car done and her friend wants her car done. And I'm like, okay, word of mouth will go a long way. Like I had just started my Instagram page. I wasn't running no type of ads at all. And it just kept bouncing from one person to the other. You know what I mean? So I'm really trying to put that into effect with my clothing brand because word of mouth is more powerful than I think. You know, I'm thinking it's applying to my car detailing, but I'm pretty sure it can apply the same way to me selling clothes. You know, if somebody sees somebody with this shirt on and then they see somebody else with the same shirt, then they're going to be like, that's what you call, what's the word? Some type of, it's like validation, something.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, they both got the same shirt, but they don't even know each other. You know, that brand must have some type of reputation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
so I'm doing that on campus and I'm just giving out shirts for like break even price or something, or like, you know, buy one, get one free. They're going to be like, where you getting them shirts from? And they're going to come right to me. It's going to spread my brand more. I mean, they're wearing my shirt, so it's marketing, it's free marketing.
Right.
That's really how I see it. That's why I want to go local.
Yeah, most definitely. It's that social proof, right? Where you see one person have it. It's like, okay, now that entry, you see one person, then another, and it's like, okay, they don't know each other. What is this brand? What is this message?
Yeah, like I want it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Nah, for sure, man. And definitely big things coming ahead, bro. So wishing all the best. So as we round out, I want to talk about this here. So me and Jordan got connected London through the Roommates podcast and them having a live show out in Dallas. That's how me and him got connected.
Okay.
Now, me and London, you know, since we partnered up, we've been talking a lot about this dating relationship stuff and, you know, sort of transitioning that as some of the content material, still, you know, giving the same message, but just diversifying the content. My question, Jordan, is what impact, in your opinion, did the Roommates have on you and kind of your mindset and your development as a person?
Yeah, they really they were really the catalyst to everything. Mm-hmm. I started listening to them November 2020, mm-hmm. and I was just going through their episodes. I started on like the Apple podcast type thing. And I was just going through their episodes, listening to stuff about relationships at first because that's what was on my mind. But then they started spitting facts about, you know, when it comes to business, finances, body, and all that. And it was kind of like a switch. It was my first time hearing that type of content. My friend Michael, he put me on. That's how I found out about them. But after I learned about them, like every week I would listen to them. I haven't stopped since. It's been literally every week. So almost all of their videos since 2020 or so, I've watched or like at least listened to. But at the show, I meant to get in contact with Hafiz because I kind of wanted to thank him. I had a letter I wanted to give him, but it was kind of a letter that said like the ways I improved physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually, mentally, like everything that happened in the past year or so. So they affected all of that. Just gym, physically, I've read more books in the past year than I have in basically my entire life.
Yeah.
Um, Emotionally, I started journaling, working on my emotions, my reaction, just kind of like becoming a better man when it comes to that. Spiritually, daily devotion. And I've always been raised spiritually, in the
Right,
church,
right.
parents, ministers. But I started really doing daily devotion about a year ago, where I use my Bible app and just listen to they have like different plans. It's not like I'm looking at a verse every day. It's like I go through this plan and they have the devotion, the verses, etc. So the roommates impacted my life in a way where it just made me a better man overall. Like I feel like if you compared me to who I was a year ago, you'd see two different types of people. Like I didn't start my detailing business until after I started listening to the roommates. Like that wasn't even on my mind. They
Right.
just kind of like the messages I was listening to. That's what they put on me, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start a side hustle. And then I eventually got into making my clothing brand, and I dealt with this situation throughout 2021. Where it's like, it was emotionally traumatic, just relationship wise. But I got through that not only because of the roommates, but just my own self improvement. I feel like if I hadn't found them at the right time, things would be differently for me right now. Like I probably wouldn't be wearing this shirt. You know what I mean?
Right. I think that's huge. It's like you've dialed in and you've went. I think the most important thing that I heard you say was you kind of found yourself. And it's kind of like you figured out, you dug in so many different sectors of like, who am I? Who is Jordan? So it's like that right there can help you recover from relationship, make you kind of see where you went wrong in situations, not do the blame game. It's like, I'm not really familiar with the roommates as much, but it's like, just coming from what you're saying is like, it seems like these people kind of influenced you so much and gave you a better mindset to where you got your mind right. You figured out what you want to do relationship wise, business wise. So I think that's where I kind of stand on with when I talk to people about relationships and things like that, or just you got to find yourself and get comfortable in your skin before you can do anything. Cause like once you figure that out, you're going to shoot up to the sky. Cause like if you don't worry about what people are doing, what this person is doing, you're going to always get to the top. And if you don't rush the process and keep on that same steady path, kind of like Obi said, I'm trying to do a pound a week. I'm trying to do this. I'm not trying to worry about benching 500 pounds in 2 weeks. So it's like, it seems like we all three got our minds in the right category to kind of get to that destination.
Yeah, most definitely. And why I bring it all up is because, I used to be a person who, I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy interacting with people, but I was always a person who tried to learn and try to become well-rounded. And I really liked what their platform kind of presented. And then it also created opportunities like us three all on this call today. Me meeting Jordan out, me meeting London out in the gym because I decided to, branch out and join like an alpha land and try to expand my network. And so I think just kind of what we create, it's important to keep on sharing and spreading the message and spreading positivity, spreading, just sort of people working together, right? Because there's a lot of people I feel like are lost and maybe don't have that sort of outlet or don't have people really talking, for them, talking to them. So I think just continuing to, preach the message and sort of impact people is, sort of my take home that I took from them, becoming well-rounded, and then also being able to share that holistic approach to other men and women, whomever is listening. I mean, all right. So just to wrap up, Jordan, we always ask every guest to leave a final gem. So if you could leave your last word of wisdom, your last gem to the people listening, what would that be?
My last gem would be my motto, of course, which would be better than yesterday, every day, just constantly improve yourself. But it will also be to do the hard things because I feel like that's what will really make you grow as a person.
Mm.
I had to put myself through that. You know, doing the hard things, it's not pleasant, but in the long run, it'll pay off. I mean, it'll pay off in the short run even, but just doing the hard things and bettering yourself every day.
All right. That's great. Great jump. All right. That's a wrap for this episode of 4 Insight Podcast. Want to thank our guest, Jordan Patterson, for coming on, man. Appreciate it, bro.
Thank you, my brother.
That's a wrap, y'all, for this episode of 4 Insight Podcast. We want to thank our guest, Jordan Patterson, for coming on this week. This has been your host, Mike Obi.
And it's your boy, London Ogletree, man. It was very motivating and it was very nice conversation today, man. Thank you.
Most definitely. You can catch this episode on all your listening platforms as well as YouTube and the Anchor.fm platform. Much love.
Probably won't. I took some risks, some people probably won't. That's how we're grateful for the fruits of all my labor. Hard to live and know you sick, I'd rather be with my creator. Thinking time's up.